Wow, stories.
My boyfriend mocked my new job at my mom's cafe after I quit teaching to grieve my dad. So when he came crawling back, I made sure his apology turned into the punchline of his next unemployment joke. So I, a 28-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend, a 35-year-old male, for years. In this time, in terms of my career, I quit teaching 4 years ago, underpaid and overworked, and then moved to working for the government. Last August, my dad contracted sepsis and died suddenly. I was very close to him, and this led to severe depression and me being forced to go on to sick pay from the government. I was still making 1,700 pounds as my sick pay. My boyfriend, who is 35 years old, has always mocked my career choices. He calls my degrees pieces of paper and says that he could get a biro and write his name on a card, and it would be worth as much as my degrees. I have an undergraduate degree in psychology and a postgraduate degree in special needs education, as well as many CPD certificates and ICT courses. Anyway, since I took so long off work to focus on my mental health and grief, we came to a mutual decision at work that due to the nature of my role in the government, they'd pay me my sick pay until I secured a new job. All glowing references. I was also paying 500 pounds a month in before and after school clubs. My mom runs a sandwich breakfast cafe in the village where I grew up. She offered to help with childcare, and I'm working 5 days a week. I already feel insecure about this as I have taken a massive pay cut. But ultimately it works for myself, my son, and my mental health. Plus, I actually enjoy it. It was my first day yesterday. I was running the shop myself from today, and I got back to my boyfriend's flat. He immediately started mocking me, saying he can't wait to ring all his friends and tell them because it's so freaking funny. You'll leave this job just like you have all the others. You won't even last. You can't do this. I immediately went quiet and walked out. We haven't spoken since. My boyfriend has been unemployed since October, and we've been living off my wage. He doesn't shower. He doesn't get out of bed most days. He has jobs lined up, but because he drinks all weekends, he is too hungover when Monday morning comes to start. Anyway, needless to say, I went home with my son and absolutely sobbed my heart out. I've been through grief, financial struggles, and childcare worries, all for my boyfriend to mock me when I finally get a job, which I want to add, I am very proud of. He hasn't even texted me to apologize. How on earth do I make him see how low he's made me feel? Edit. Thank you all for your kind and probably deservedly harsh at times comments. To clarify, he's not my son's father. We do not live together. I have sent him a text filled with some excellent comments I've found from some of you guys. Wish me luck. Edit 2. Yes, I've blocked him. Yes, I've contacted NHS IAPI for CBT and talking therapies. Also, I'm applying for university again to become a paramedic. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You've been in this relationship for so long that you seem to see it as normal. But do you want a lifetime with a man who puts you down whatever you do? This is not a healthy relationship. If you can't outright ditch him, get counseling to explore why you stay with a man who is so contemptuous. Comment 2. Dumping him might get your point across. He's a lazy, unemployed bum living off your money, and he has the tarnished brass balls to mock you in your job? Oh, hell no. He can go fend for himself. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, after I blocked my boyfriend and started therapy, things took a turn. I was getting my life on track, or so I thought. My mom's cafe started picking up business, and I was feeling good about work. But then, my ex-boyfriend showed up at the cafe one day, out of the blue, looking like he'd finally taken a shower for the first time in months. He came in, all smiles, saying he'd got a job and was here to make amends. He even brought flowers. I didn't know what to think. Part of me wanted to throw the flowers in his face, but another part of me, the part that remembered the good times, felt a twinge of hope. I told him we could talk after my shift, thinking maybe, just maybe, he'd changed. That same day after the cafe closed, my mom sat me down. She'd been acting weird all day, and I knew something was up. She told me she was selling the cafe. She'd gotten an offer she couldn't refuse, and she was ready to retire. My heart sank. This job was my lifeline, my way of getting back on my feet. And just like that, it was slipping away. I met with my ex after that news, feeling like the world was against me. He said he'd been sober for a month and had a steady job at a construction site. He wanted to try again, to be better. I was so emotionally drained, I just nodded along. I didn't have the energy to fight or to be alone. The next week was a blur. I started looking for new jobs, but nothing felt right. I was back to square one, and the thought of university seemed like a distant dream. My ex was around more, helping with my son, trying to be the man I once loved. But every time he'd say something supportive, I'd remember his cruel words, and I'd feel that resentment bubbling up inside me. Then, my son got sick. Really sick. We were in and out of the hospital, and my ex was there the whole time. He was actually being helpful, and I hated myself for being grateful for it. It was during one of those long nights at the hospital that I got a call from a government agency. They'd heard about my situation and offered me a job. Not just any job, but a role that would use my degrees, my experience. It was perfect, but it was in another city, far away. I was torn. Here was this chance to start fresh, to give my son and me a better life. But it meant leaving my mom, the cafe, and the strange, fragile thing that was growing again between me and my ex. I told him about the job, and to my surprise, he encouraged me to take it. He said he'd follow us, that he'd do whatever it took to keep our family together. So, I accepted the job. We started making plans to move. My ex was on his best behavior, and part of me started to believe that this could work, that we could be a family. But there was always that nagging doubt, the fear that I was walking back into a trap. The day before we were supposed to leave, my ex disappeared. No note, no text, nothing. I called, I searched, but he was gone. It was like he'd vanished into thin air. I was heartbroken and furious. How could I have been so stupid to trust him again? But there was no time to dwell on it. I had a job to start, a son to take care of. So we moved. It's been a month now. The job is challenging, but I'm doing it. My son is healthy again, and we're slowly building a new life. I keep waiting for my ex to show up, to explain himself, but there's been nothing. It's like he was a ghost, haunting me with what could have been. I'm trying to accept this terrible situation. I tell myself it's for the best, that we're better off without him. But deep down, I'm still waiting, still hoping, still not realizing that maybe this is just another cycle of the same old story.